When we moved into this farmhouse, I was so excited to finally live here that I really didn't think much about what would come next. Unpacking, buying furniture, settling in. I figured that would happen over time. But between the yard work and the broken HVAC and the broken pipes and, having a full-time job, unpacking boxes was just never at the top of the to-do list. It's only now, 8 months after we're moving in, that we're finally unpacking boxes and starting to find that much longed for sense of home. One of the things that we dreamed about, Peter and I, when we were in our various rental houses working on this house, was having a pantry again. We had a beautiful pantry set up in Tulsa. Peter loves to cook. I love to bake. And while this house does have a pantry, it has been an ongoing process to finally get it sorted. So, what better place to start building the sense of home than by finally finishing the pantry? Good afternoon, friends. The great pantry reorganization continues. This is a project we have been working on since July 4th, so a couple of months now, off and on. Hopefully today will be the last big push. A momentous experience, actually opening the box that we have had in the living room for 6 weeks. Hello, shiny new shelves. So like every IKEA flat pack project, this project took way more time than expected and had a couple of false starts and was super difficult to work with on the ground. So we stood it up, which made access a lot easier. It also was easier for me to help Peter stabilize from the top down. Gravity's a beautiful thing, y'all. The IKEA instructions, by the way, were no help. They were put all 6 screws in at the same time, which is not physically possible with 2 human beings. So yeah, thanks IKEA instructions. Super helpful. Okay, so there's the 2 next to each other, and you can see just how uneven our floor is because they are touching up here and at least an inch wide down there. Because this is closest to the door, stuff that we need the most often goes here. Other stuff goes there. Peter assures me I'll have a baking section. Cans are going to go back there, and then the furthest back here, that's stuff that we won't use as often because we have to venture further into the room to get it. And then this will be apothecary things. Ta-da! For the first time probably ever, all of my apothecary things are in one place. I'm really excited about this. Well, technically 2 places. I had to put a couple things down there because they're too big to fit up here. But look, it's not the most neatly organized, but it's all here, ready for action. The other area of our home that has been an absolute train wreck since we moved in is the living room, and that's because it seems to be the room where all the boxes go to die. So tackling that and getting it organized was a big priority for September. What do you think, Boobaloo? He says, well, I don't know what to think. What are you people doing over here? So I wish I had thought to take a before shot, but imagine this entire space covered in boxes. So Peter has deconstructed part of the wall boxes, and some of the boxes are over here as well, and some of them have been emptied and kind of resorted what was there. So I know it looks like it's a mess, and frankly it is a mess, but it will be organized chaos at the end of the process. One of the reasons it's taken us so long to unpack these boxes is that we sold our bookshelves in Tulsa before we moved. So I want to give a huge shout out again to our friend Sherry for purchasing 4 bookshelves for us. They've been here since July, and our gratitude knows no bounds. The bottom is being assembled. Tab A, slot B. It's nice when it works, frustrating when it doesn't. It is wild how long it takes to put these things together, even though it's not very complicated. So we have one done and a second one done. The bottom two shelves are part of the stabilization, and then the adjustable shelves are here. We haven't even put them in yet. Obviously, the place looks like a pigsty. We have literally a mountain of packing trash that needs to go somewhere. This is the last push here to at least get this done, because that way we can put two of the shelves here, which is where they're going to go. We just haven't put them there because we need the space to move around. As near as Peter and I can figure, these bookshelves are going to house the vast majority of what we have, but there will be some things like the photo albums, etc., that may stay in boxes for a while longer yet. And that's okay. We have an obscene amount of books. We were told by our move-in team. Peter and I don't think it's obscene. Peter and I think it is a relatively pared-down version of what we used to have. I gotta tell you, 1 box out of 3 has been unpacked, and I'm not sure we're gonna make it. Because that box is entirely full of games, and we have 2 shelves and a top left. And then this box over here is somewhat full of games. Why is our child drinking out of my watering can? It is literally the same water from the same tap that I put in your bowl an hour ago. And in case you all are thinking, that box surely can't be as big as it looks on film. Oh, no. It is absolutely as big as it looks on film. That is the complete Everdell collection. It came in a box that was barely bigger than it. It has a bajillion things inside of it. It is glorious.
It was the complete Everdell collection back when it was printed.
It was only printed like 2 years ago.
Yes, but they've come out with more. See, we got those too.
If you guys haven't played Everdell, I'll show you sometime when we get it out. It is absolutely gorgeous. The artwork is beautiful. You play as forest creatures that are trying to build up your reserves to last through the winter. It is competitive, which is the only thing that I can say against it.
There are endless variations and things like that. It's incredibly creative. I'm a huge fan of it, and the artwork is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh yeah, the artwork is freaking beautiful. And now all we need is a table to play it on, because the only table, you guys, that exists in this house is the table in the pantry, which I will show you, even in the terrible lighting, is completely covered with stuff, i.e. not a gaming table. And this table in the kitchen, which is completely covered with kitchen things, also not a gaming table. So Peter and I have actually been discussing where a gaming or puzzle table might live in the house. Discussion ongoing. You guys, look at this. It looks habitable. Hey, Booskers. It looks like a place people are meant to live and not a pile of book boxes. It's light. It's open. It looks inviting. It basically says, come, sit, read a book, enjoy the carpet. Peter did such an amazing job today in here unpacking quite a lot of book boxes. The rest of the book boxes have been relocated upstairs for future unpacking. At some point, I do actually need to go through here and organize the books because they came out higgledy-piggledy, and that will be a most pleasurable afternoon. Oh, I'm so excited. This is so beautiful. And thank you to my parents for this gorgeous rug. Not a pattern I would have picked, to be honest with you guys. It looks amazing. And not a minute too soon, because a week later, we were at the local library book sale. This year we came prepared, and we just found a huge jackpot of all of the original covered Anne McCaffrey Pern books. And I am so excited. Look at these. These are all these beautiful original covers, not the crappy modern new designed ones. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We're picking up all kinds of interesting stuff. So riding on the high of getting our pantry finally organized and the living room finally organized, I decided it was time to tackle some yard work that I'd had on my to-do list for probably 2 months. Good morning, friends. It is what my mother would call trimming day. If you ask a gardener how they feel about weeding, you'll get all kinds of different responses. I think it's pretty obvious that my response to weeding is no, I prefer not to do it. However, there comes a point when you can't see the flowers because the weeds are so big and everything looks super unkempt. So that is the plan for today. So here we are at almost 2 hours into the project, which seems both not long and way too long for what we've been up to. But I do have some beans growing along that line, which is pretty exciting. And I'm feeling really good about it. So here is our next project. Our neighbor Deb divided her daylilies last week and brought me 20 clumps. And now we need to figure out where to put them. They grow to about 3 feet when they're full grown, so I have a couple of ideas. I'd like to put some, like a few up here along the driveway, and after that we shall have to figure out where the rest go. Come on, little guy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's figure out how you fit in this hole, because I don't want to have to make the hole any bigger. There we go. So there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 daylilies. I'm pretty pleased with that. Ta-da! 12 daylilies, 3 feet apart, all the way down to the end of the French drain. Gardening is a lot about faith. For example, I have faith that these will grow into 3-foot round clumps in a few years, assuming they don't die. But they do look pretty uninteresting at the moment. Unfortunately, the last part of September was nowhere near as productive as the first part of September, and that is because Peter and I came down with COVID. I got it first. I think I got it from a friend of mine, and I gave it to Peter a couple days later. We thought it was a head cold until I lost my sense of taste completely for about a week, and then we finally realized it was COVID. So even though the end of September didn't go out with the bang that we started with, we were still able to get something done, and that is all thanks to Scott. Now, Scott is the home painter that our neighbors had recommended over the summer. As you guys may remember, we had all of the windows replaced in the house in January before we moved in, but we hadn't had any of the wood frames painted. And so even though we were mostly stuck inside recovering from COVID, Scott was still able to get the painting done, which made a huge difference. And bonus, we didn't get Scott sick. This is the first window that our painter did a few days ago. You can see he's primed it with a green primer, which will hopefully make it a lot easier than to put the green paint over the top. Fun fact, Peter and I were sure we had written down the color code for the paint, and then we can't find it, so we're trying to go back through our records. I think we have discovered it's Courtyard by Sherwin-Williams, but I'm not 100% sure of that. The most time-consuming part of this process was actually at the very beginning with scraping off all of the extra caulking. The crew that put the windows in was not very tidy at all, and the problem with the caulking is that it's silicone-based, and so it would take the paint differently or not at all, as opposed to the wood. So bless Scott for spending several days actually scraping off all the windows. It was easily 2 or 3 times as much time as it actually took to paint the windows. Once we got around to priming and painting the windows, it went very quickly. Exciting times, y'all. Scott is he has some extra time to paint our door. So we're going to have the outside done in green. It would probably be more aesthetically pleasing to have it done in white, but the white is going to get so dirty on the bottom, so we're going to do green and then probably some white inserts. Here's your up-close shot of the primer. It's pretty great to have a primer that is so close to the final color, because there's an immediate difference. And there, sorry for the morning light, is the finished door. I do wish we'd been able to get more white in there, but I think once we paint the inside, it'll look a lot like the windows. So as you can see, Scott did an amazing job on the upstairs windows. He also retacked one of the siding pieces that had come off, and he cleaned up a bunch of trash that the contractor crew had left on the back side of the house. Oh, it just looks so neat and tidy. Thankfully, as the calendar rolled into October, I was feeling much better, and I was actually feeling well enough to go with my friend to the organ concert at the local historic society. And oh my gosh, you guys, I didn't feel right taking any footage because it was a public performance, but hearing that organ play, the first time I've heard it play, and it was magnificent. And those low notes just vibrated something deep inside. It was amazing. I want to close this segment with two pieces that are seemingly small, but really do contribute to the feeling of home. I want to show you some of the footage of our brand new plumbing system. Those of you who have been around know that this was a huge inconvenience over the summer, and I promised you some footage. I don't have a lot of footage, but I have a little bit I want to show you. And then I also want to give a huge shout out to J&G because they sent me some home history information in the mail, and we'll go over that in a minute. Let's step into the bed. Oh my gosh, that's quite a bit different. Quite a bit different indeed. Also, really in the way. Like moving things in and out of here is going to be right constricted with that. And that too. But it actually looks way more professional. Look at the hooks that they've added. The white hooks they've added to fix the slope. Let's go down into here. There's kind of a musty smell. Yeah, look at those hooks. And there's no longer, oh, I see. So before it came here and it came down and out that way, and now everything has been rooted up above and then comes down through that trunk and goes out. So that's cool. There's a trap on here now. And look at that major piping. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I haven't written any names on here yet because I just got home, but we'll do that in a little while. Yeah. I mean, it basically looks like what was here before, but, you know, better. Better grade, more professional install, way more supports for the pipes. Okay, friends, this is the first opportunity I have had to check out the work the plumbers did. So let's see if we can spot the difference. Ah, look at that. Piping that has actual right angles. That piping, which is an actual right angle, all the way over into here. Oh yeah, these are definitely pipes with a bigger diameter than what was here before. So this is the size, I think this is the diameter of the old one, and that's the diameter of the new one. So it looks more rigid. It looks more, not rigid, straight, like sharp 90-degree turns and stuff. Not as wildly different visually as the pathway, but just as functional. In fact, perhaps more functional. Gosh, you guys, for the first time in 2.5 months, the mini split is on. I feel cool-ish air, but that might just be outside air.
Yeah, let's say probably 5 minutes to kick it on.
It's a moment we have long waited for. They're getting ready to pack up. All of our systems pass their tests. It heats, it cools. I am so grateful to these Connor and Josh for fixing our HVAC, and they came in right at budget, which is even better. One of the amazing things that happened this summer in the midst of all of our plumbing and mini split fiascos was that the original owners who bought the house in 1945, their granddaughter, Bonnie, stopped by to give us a lot of family history. And I recorded that in a video, and I went away on my vacation. When I came back, this package was here from J&G Beekman. They're hobby genealogists, and they sent me some information about the house, some of which I knew, some of which I didn't know. So this is the house as it was when we bought it. We think the pictures were taken probably in February or so of last year. So it starts with some census information about the Fergusons who owned it. So the Ferguson family bought this property in 1945. James Charles, better known as Jim, and Marguerite were the first two owners of the property. They had it from 1945 until, as far as we can tell, about maybe 1980, 1985. They had three sons, James, Robert, and Jack. Robert is the one who had the house after his parents. And then the youngest son, Jack, who was born in 1938. Now, Jack may still be alive, according to the research, and that's the one that they recommended we reach out to. Here is some information about James C., or Jim. He's the original owner in 1945. This is his obituary. So he died in 1985 at his home following an extended illness. And then we go back in time from 1985 back to Jim's children. So Kaywood Flyer starts course. This is the oldest boy, James R. Ferguson, enrolled in a flight course. Here about now, both brothers, both Jim and Robert are in, or James and Robert are in flight school. Ovid Youth is carrier pilot. So again, we're following their pilot history. And we had known, again, that they were pilots, but none of this information. So this is all very, very cool stuff to learn. And then 30 days in forestry. So this also talks about Robert had done some forestry work here, and then serving in Japan. And now Robert is in Japan, which his daughter Bonnie had told us. And then here we see Lieutenant Ferguson. Robert Ferguson marries Sue Lee. So this is 1955. Robert marries his wife, Sue Lee. They were together until 2007 when Sue Lee passed away. I have a picture, I believe, of Robert and Sue Lee somewhere upstairs that was left in the house. And then here is where we get to the sad stuff. Kaywood drowning claims native falls man and son. Now this we did know about. I had found this when I was originally researching the owners of the property, and Bonnie confirmed this story. So her uncle, Robert's older brother, James, or Jim, the one who was in pilot service with him, he and one of his sons were on one of the lakes here, not Seneca Lake, but I think it was the one next door, Cayuga, and they drowned, and their bodies were found the next day. And so they are buried up in the Ovid Cemetery, Bonnie tells me, and I do want to go up and find them at some point. So the oldest son passed away while his parents were still living, which is why Robert inherited the house, because he was at that point the oldest surviving child. And then here is Robert's obituary, Robert C. Ferguson. He died in 2014. He moved away from the house, actually. So we're not quite sure who was living in the house from 1985. It sounds like maybe a family member was here through about 1990 or so. And then Robert passed away after a brief illness, and his surviving children, one of whom, Bonnie and Larry of Florida, are the two that came to visit us this summer. So thank you very much, J&G, for this wonderful, wonderful book. We had known some of this, but not the details of what's outlined in the articles. And this is actually the only print copy we have. Most of what I know is scribbled on notes and in my head. So I really, really appreciate the work that you did to print this out and send it over. I said at the start of the video that I had no idea how long it would take for this house to feel like home. And I wouldn't say that it's 100% there yet, but we have definitely made big strides. Being able to use the plumbing without worrying about it, being able to turn on the air conditioning or the heating without worrying about whether it will work or not, having the living room actually be functional as a living room and not having the boxes everywhere has been just such a huge blessing, and I hope that it continues. We are planning to take the month of December off of any major house projects to enjoy the holiday season and then get back at it in January. So I expect there will be more homemaking videos in the future. But for now, thank you so much for being here. And since it is almost the Thanksgiving holiday, I wish you a wonderful Thanksgiving. Whether you're spending it with friends, family, by yourself, I hope you're able to take some time to relax and celebrate the end of a growing season. And I will see you soon in my next video. Bye for now.